Okay, so we'll let the record show the committee has reconvened in open session. Once Attorney Miller returns with the decision printouts, we'll read those into the record. Thank you. In the matter of the appeal of the prohibited dangerous animal declaration of the City of Wausau, dated and served July 1st, 2022, to pet owner Aaron Adams, having heard the testimony at the hearing on Monday, July 18th, 2022, the Public Health and Safety Committee in and for the City of Wausau does make the following findings of fact and conclusions of law in the above referenced matter. First, the findings of fact. Based upon the testimony of the parties and the exhibits presented, the facts of June 30th, 2022, the dangerous animal declaration of the City of Wausau Chief of Police Benjamin Bliven, executed on his behalf by Humane Officer Ashley Bishop, was served upon the pet owner Aaron Adams on July 1st, 2022, is accepted as accurate and true. The pet owner received a copy of the dangerous animal declaration, which was issued consistent with the requirements of Wausau Municipal Code Section 8.08.200 under the Dangerous Animals Ordinance. We find that Aaron Adams, referred to as the owner, is the owner of Hank, a Blue Heeler and Basset mix. The dog lives at 613 Chestnut Street in Marshfield, Wisconsin, but often visits the home of Susan Adams, located at 920 South 11th Avenue in Wausau, Wisconsin. On June 27th, 2022, Wausau Humane Officer Ashley Bishop received a report from Officer Michael Horish that an individual had allegedly been bitten by Hank on June 17th of 2022. Humane Officer Bishop spoke with the mother, Samantha McBride, of the alleged minor victim, who told her that Hank bit her minor son on June 17th, 2022, that caused puncture wounds to his chest. On that day, Samantha McBride, her minor son, and Susan were outside. Susan had Hank on a leash. Samantha's son ran past a group of people and Hank, and at that time, Hank lunged forward and bit the boy on the right pectoral area of his chest. No medical treatment was sought. We find that Samantha McBride also indicated to Officer Bishop that approximately 1 month prior to the bite, Samantha was returning from a walk, and Susan was in the yard with Hank. Hank was on a leash. Samantha walked by Hank while leaning forward or down, and Hank attempted to nip at her face, but no contact was made. Fifth, we find that Samantha McBride reported another incident that occurred at the end of November 2021, where her husband was bitten on the ankle by Hank. Her husband, Tanner McBride, was walking along his own driveway. Hank was chained and leashed in the grass area between the McBride residence and the Susan Adams residence. When Hank ran across the driveway and bit Tanner McBride in the left ankle, the police were not contacted and medical treatment was not sought. Samantha McBride indicated another incident in which occurred in September of 2021. There was a social gathering on Susan Adams' property when Samantha's other minor son was near Hank while leashed and bit the boy on the ankle. No medical treatment was sought and the police were not contacted. The written appeal provided to this committee by Aaron Adams admits that the dog bit the child. We find that based upon the testimony of the owners, Aaron Adams and Susan Adams, Hank bit the minor son on June 17th, 2022. The committee finds the following facts significant. that the owners testified that Hank completed obedience training in the fall of 2021, yet the events subsequent still occurred. That the owner was concerned enough of the dog's posturing that she discussed it with her veterinarian. That the dog is a blue heeler mix, which is a known herding type breed of dog requiring extra handling knowledge on the part of the owner to mitigate characteristic behaviors. And that the owner testified that when she is out with Hank, that he has taken aggressive posture with other unfamiliar people as they approach. Based upon the findings of fact listed above, Hank constitutes a dangerous animal as defined in Wausau Municipal Code, Section 8.08.200 sub B, as an animal which bites, inflicts injury, attacks, or otherwise endangers the safety of human beings or domestic animals without provocation on public or private property. The committee concludes that Hank represents a risk to public safety if the requirements imposed as a result of the declaration are not upheld. The committee upholds the dangerous animal declaration of the Chief of Police of June 30th, 2022, and denies the appeal of the owner. The committee recognizes that some of the allegations of the victim's mother are disputed by the dog owner, yet were included in the police report based upon the officer's interactions with the parties involved. The committee finds the testimony and evidence are satisfactory, clear, and convincing. The exhibits contained as part of the public health and safety packet are accepted as part of the record in this matter. If you wish to further contest this determination, you may, within 5 days from the receipt of this written decision, seek a review of this decision in Marathon County Circuit Court. This finding will be signed today and will be sent home with you. And as a result, you would then be asked to comply with the requirements of the declaration. There's two for the owners. And a copy of the findings will be provided to the dog owner, to the homeowner that hosts the animal, and to the petitioner, as well as to the clerk records. There you go. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you for your testimony. I know that the hour grows late, but we appreciate you all taking part in the hearing today. We'll give Attorney Miller a second to distribute the findings. In the meantime, the committee will continue with its agenda. Based on the late hour, we've decided to hold item number 5 for our next meeting. There's certainly not urgency to complete that. That's a presentation of a report assessing the condition of central fire for the Wausau Fire Department. That report can be received next month. Item number 6 is a quick one that kind of clarifies things. That's discussion and possible action regarding ordinance amending section 8.08.120, number of dogs and cats limited. You'll recall that the city has a top end on how many animals a home can possess. We have received a request, as our canine program has expanded and been around now for a number of years, we've reached a point where some of our canines have retired. And so that doesn't mean that our canine officers aren't still canine officers. So even though those animals are owned by the police department, they remain with the handler for the remainder of their life, even though they're no longer working. And so the situation that we've experienced is that when a canine handler retires an animal and keeps the animal, they may also possess a domestic pet and a replacement canine, which then they're asking for us to create an enabling provision in the animal ordinance that would waive the pet fancier permit requirement for law enforcement officers who are keeping the city's animals. The city retains ownership of those animals throughout their lives, so they actually are not the officers' animals. And so if you approve this item number 6, that would enable that behavior to continue, and those officers would not have to go get pet fancier permits. Does anyone have questions for Nate on that? If not, is there a motion to approve that enabling? Motion by Hinkie, is there a second? Second by Denny. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Hey, excuse,
Aye. Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
just ask a quick question?
Sure.
You said that the officer owns the animal, or the city owns the
The
animal?
city owns the animal, but the
Even-
officer continues to care for the animal. They
Really?
maintain possession of the animal.
Even the retired
Correct.
animal?
Yes, because it's.
What is the purpose of that?
Well, the animal always has, even when it's working, lives in the officer's home.
Right.
And so it continues to live in the home even after it retires. They don't rehome the animal when it stops working. They retire and they still have life left to live, but that officer may be issued another canine to work with. So
Okay.
the working dog goes to work, but the other one still stays home and is, essentially, it's still the city's animal,
But
but it stays in
okay,
its
so
home.
the ownership is my question, is why would that need to continue?
You mean this,
For the city to own
for the city to own the dog?
right. Because now we've got, so you have one person currently has an active dog plus 2 inactive.
Well,
correct.
they may have a domestic pet as well.
Okay,
They're asking for an
okay,
exception.
I'm-
It could be their own animal as well. It doesn't always have to be a retired canine, but it could be. So,
But I guess the question goes to potential liability or care for the animal. It's, if the animal lives longer than the officer, for example, or the officer moves on, does the city still maintain a certain string on that?
go
Once,
ahead, Chief.
once the canine retires, usually the retirement is due to physical, ability at that point. Then the handler that had the dog for all those years is responsible for the health and well-being of the dog at that point. So I don't know for certain. I'll have to verify whether or not we actually transfer ownership to the canine handler once they retire, but I can get back to you on that. I don't recall exactly, but I know that we are not responsible for the vet care or the food like we do with the
Okay,
the canines that are in service. The city isn't paying for that care at that point beyond.
Okay,
that.
so that's kind of the gist of the
Okay, and when I
question.
read the
Yeah.
background materials, it seemed to me that it was a city animal, even though it wasn't an employee anymore, if that,
Yeah, I guess I'd have to check on
I can
the
report back to the committee next month on that.
Okay.
actual transfer, but
Right.
Chief Bliven is correct that once the animal is retired, the city is no longer paying for the vet bills and not paying the officer additional compensation to care for that animal, like bathing and stuff like that.
Okay.
okay, so separate from that, though, this provision still allows them to retain that animal without going out to get pet fancier permits. So that's all that this does. And we had a motion and a second. Any additional questions? If not, members in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None are opposed, that item carries. And then we just have a couple of reports. We have item number 7 is the operations report that you get monthly from the fire department. Does anyone have questions for Chief Bartek on that report at all? Go ahead, Doug, if you have a question.
Was there going to be a we skipped the
That's
presentation?
separate. We're going to hold
Okay.
that for next month, the
I'll
station
hold my
thing.
questions, no, I'm good.
Yep, so this one is just their call volume reports and things. Anything on the report that you wanted to talk about, Chief?
In essence, the time, nothing in particular. The only thing I'll draw attention to really quickly is again, we set another record. June was busiest month in Wausau Fire Department history. I expect July, we're going to probably hit another record. Our call volume is growing exponentially, and we're seeing that across the fire service in Wisconsin. Chiefs are busy trying to diagnose why our services are so much more accessed without a dramatic change in our census numbers, but something we're diving into. I'd be happy to discuss that, later. Give me a call, stop down at the station. We can talk more about what's going on with that. If there's any specific questions about any other portion of the report, I will yield the time back.
From a staffing requirement, or for a staffing perspective, you have recruitment actively going on, right? For the
Yeah.
additional officers that we've approved?
Sure, yes. And so during that recruitment, that summer recruitment, we received 13 applications. We brought 6 to interviews. We expect to accept offers to 3 of them. We've placed 1 on an eligibility list as he completes some education. We're taking 1 to the Police and Fire Commission for interviews next week Monday, and then 1 to the August. We have received an additional resignation at the time, so we still struggle to get over that 62 mark and into the 63, 64, and 65.
Right.
The new marks, we're busy working actively with HR on that, so you'll probably see another late summer recruitment occur to try to meet those numbers as we go on. So.
Good. Okay, and then, so we'll place the fire department report on file. Item 8 is the operations report from the PD, similar, and the tavern report for this month. Does anyone have questions on any of those reports? If not, is there anything on the report that you wanted to detail, Chief?
I think the reports speak for themselves. I would just identify the Jalapenos restaurant, in case the committee wants to consider calling them into the,
Okay.
to speak.
Sure. Committee, do you feel the interaction that we had with the owner this evening is sufficient, or do you want to proceed with the formal expression of concern over the situation at Jalapenos?
Madam Chair, to be honest with you, I'm torn on this because, that's a staple downtown. He's been down there for so many years, but I can appreciate him having, getting health problems and stuff like that, as everybody around here is. But then again, we sat here and we scolded, I can't think of the name.
Nooch.
Nooches.
Yep.
For having, 100 points and be careful, and
Yep.
and all of a sudden we've got somebody who's got 175 points against them.
Yep.
As much as you would like to see this business stay in business downtown, he's been a staple there for many years. I guess is our hands tied as to how to proceed
the formal
with these?
expression of concern really isn't a step towards suspension or non-renewal. What it is it's our chance to interact with the owner to let them know that we're expecting something different or better, and that if the pattern continues, that then there's subsequent actions that we would want to take here. And so he agreed to have some detailed discussion with us tonight when he was here for the waiver. And so we did get some background on the things. I think he would tell us the same things if we brought him back. One other option we have is you could dispatch the chief or Lieutenant Felder to interact with the owner, and again, extend that offer, since he's indicated he's got a number of new staff, extend that offer for that training, and ask them to, again, discuss the points situation and, advise the owner that we are looking for defined improvement. And so then subsequent things that show up on the report would certainly be flagged by us. And if you see additional things beyond what we saw on this month's report, then it makes absolute sense to summon him back, because things continue to happen beyond what we knew about tonight, I guess.
It seems that both the occurrences where the points that were accrued were both basically for the same violation, and what can we do to not have this occur again?
Right, 6 months apart too. So, I mean, the fact that he was, if he's short-staffed on security, that really could explain some of that. But, I can tell you that over the span of the last maybe 10, 12 years, a good number of our licensed establishments, a number of them which are staples downtown, have been here for the same purpose, and a number of them have turned things around. So, what 5 or 6 come to mind right now that we've had come in, and, almost every one of them has successfully addressed the problem, and they're all still in business. So, there's been a different pattern with the ones that haven't, but, the ones that are willing to be proactive and try to be better have found a way. So, it's possible, based on our interaction with him this evening, that might do it. But if we find in a month or so that it obviously didn't, then maybe something different is necessary. I guess, what do you guys think of that?
Well, I was a little concerned we waded into that tonight because it wasn't part of why he was here.
I think it directly affected our decision, though, to waive or not waive the license. So,
Well, do we have to approve the point accrual, or is that a?
no, there's no involvement from us in that on purpose. So that's all delegated to the police department so that it's not political. So we don't get to approve the points, and we also can't take points away from them. So,
So then maybe could we review, just so we're on the record, is where he's at a pretty high point right now, where the next step really should be more formal.
Yeah, so the discussion tonight was just so, I guess, the committee wasn't in the dark of, hey, we know of this point thing, but we haven't agendized a formalized, concern. And so that way you had the full picture of what you were approving, meaning the points. But I guess for purposes of consistency, I would recommend that we would still do some sort of concern. That way, other bars and that, would be watching this and, well, how come he didn't have to go to do this? Well, we sort of did it, we sort of
Yeah.
didn't do it. And so, I guess my recommendation would be to still have
that meeting?
And that way he also knows, because he didn't know that's what we were going to be asking him. And that
100%,
way
that's my point.
he can come with maybe a little more, has a month now to come up with a plan to give us bullet points.
Sure. And by then, he may have actually undertaken some training too, so that he could tell us about. So we can agree by consensus. If we all by consensus feel like, and I'm all about consistency with this stuff because that helps us when people appeal. So if you guys want to summon him back, we can have him at the August meeting and we can have a discussion with him similar to the one that we had with Nooch. That has no effect on his license. It really is an awareness thing so that he knows that we're looking for him to do something different. So are you guys good with bringing him back next month? August? Okay.
Yeah, I think
All right.
we should.
Then we will ask the clerk to send him the letter. There's a letter that he gets asking him to appear at the August meeting, and then we'll talk with him about what's happened and then what his plan looks like going forward. Okay? Absolutely do that. So, and Mary, can you have Caitlin send that then before the next? Okay, perfect. Item number 9 is communications. I don't have any. Does anyone have any communications? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Hinkie, second by Larson. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one's opposed, and this meeting went long enough that the rain outside stopped, so it looked like a little hurricane-ish for a minute there, so. Was it hailing? I think it was hailing. It sounded like.